Retaliation. More often than not, he who retaliates gets caught. The last round of the Trans Am Championship at Portland was no exception. Aggressive pre-green flag jostling for position came to a head when Paul Gentilozzi slammed his Jag XKR into the Dodge Viper of pole sitter and eventual winner Tommy Archer. Gentilozzi was penalized, but Archer was forced to overcome a deflating left front tire. So with whom does the blame lie? Well, as usual, it depends on who you ask.
He was trying to take territory I thought was mine, and I'm not very good at having people take things from me. So you get pushed, you push back.
Paul had at least a lane and a half, 2 lanes, and he still wanted us over in the dirt, and he took an action that I didn't think was real professional.
Will tempers flare again? Find out as the battle between Detroit Iron and the world rages on at historic Road America, next here on Speed Vision. For a remarkable 33rd straight year, the Trans Am Series for the VF Goodrich Tires Cup returns to Wisconsin's glacially landscaped Kettle Moraine Forest and Road America. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Dorsey Schrader. John Biziano joining us in the pits. And Dorsey, we saw the contra-temps that unfolded at Portland. Now we come to the ultra-high-speed Road America, and it's wet.
And in the rain around here, Greg, let me tell you, I've driven a lot of races here. This 4-mile circuit has a lot of places just waiting to bite you.
Now, John Bizignano, with the rain developing, obviously lots of developments unfolding down on the grid. What exactly is occurring?
Paul Gentilozzi has certainly found the fast way around this 4-mile circuit in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. He is 0.4 of a second faster than the nearest qualifier. In Trans Am, that's a lifetime. But Paul, I've got to tell you, the other competitors say that was a one-lap flyer. You cannot maintain that speed during the race.
Well, if you look at the lap sheets for every session, we're at the top. Those guys are just wishful thinking.
Well, Paul Gentilozzi knows how to go just fast enough to win. Now, maybe the most frustrated man on this grid is Tommy Archer. He qualified 3rd, a great run. But after that qualification run, his car was found to be 1/16 of an inch too wide on the front splitter. That cost him going from 3rd place all the way to 33rd place. But he has proven that he can win by coming all the way through the field. Now, they're changing some tires here, so we got to stay out of the way. But Michael Lewis is maybe the happiest man on this grid. He put in a new fuel-injected engine that seems to work very well along these long straightaways at Elkhart Lake. Michael, I've got to ask you, only luck has kept you out of the winner's circle before. Are you ready to win?
We're definitely ready to win, John. Not the weather we would have hoped for with the injection, because it does negate some of what we're trying to do, and in fact, it's actually a negative. But hey, we're here, and this is what we got to work with, so we're going to go forward.
Thanks, Biz, and I'll tell you what, he has been very fast in practice as well. Let's take a look at our BF Goodrich Tires Cup points. Paul Gentilozzi leads it, in fact, opening it up now with pole by 1 over Miller.
And a lot of these guys made mistakes in the first half of the season. They cannot afford to make any mistakes this late in the season.
And obviously, Tommy Archer had a 19th early, and then he missed Sears Point due to injury. If he had those two back, who knows where we'd be. Justin Bell, the rookie, there in 6th. Boris said in the rain in 8th in the points. This could be interesting. Now, we also want to take a look at our Amerisuites Rookie of the Year points. And I mentioned Justin Bell, 5th in the overall points, a substantial margin over the rest of the field. And he comes off his first podium at Portland where he got 3rd. So definitely some momentum working for Justin Bell at this stage of the season now. And we're going to take one more look at the grid. There's Paul Gentilozzi. By virtue of his pole, he's the only guy that can win the Simple Green Cleanup Award. $2,500 a race. Nobody's won it in the last 4. It's up to $10,000. He's got the pole. He's got to lead the most laps. He's got to set fast lap and win the race. When it comes to the green of the money, it's not so simple to win here at Road America. As Dorsey said, this place can take it out of you.
Vision's coverage of the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Cup is presented by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And brought to you by Amerisuites, America's affordable all-suite hotel. Don't downsize, Amerisize.
Welcome back to Road America, everybody. And Dorsey, this track, a lot of people call it North America's Nürburgring. They compare it favorably to Spa, the legendary track in Belgium. Every driver that comes here seems to have a big smile on his face.
Well, it's always been one of my favorite tracks. Big, wide straightaways, a lot of speed here. You're racing down through the woods all the way around 4 miles here, 25 laps today. This is one of the most scenic racetracks you'll ever come to, that's for sure.
This track, though, tends to legendarily be awfully hard on brakes, doesn't it?
Well, you're going from the fastest you ever get in a Trans Am car. When you go down that turn 5, it's a downhill gradient, and you start braking, and those brakes get super, super hot. It has caused problems from day one here in Trans Am.
Now, Kerry Alexander's carrying an onboard, and earlier in the weekend, he gave us a full lap around here, the Wicks Lumber Trilithic Panos store. So take us around.
Well, 160 miles an hour approaching turn 1. He's on the brakes right there. You see the markers on your left. Turn 1, a third gear corner. It gets in here pretty tight, back on the throttle. Now watch here as it drops off. He'll catch 4th gear. There's your 4th, headed down into a real tight corner. They call this turn 3. 3rd gear through here. There was no turn 2. There's a bend there. That's why I say this is turn 3. Ooh, it's a rev limiter right there. Now you're on the long straightaway, headed toward turn 5. This is the fastest the Trans Am cars will see. It gets her up into top gear. Now watch it drop off downhill. One of the best spectator places you'll ever come right here. Through the woods. Braking down from 175 miles an hour. Tightest corner, turn 5 right there. 2nd gear, launches out of there. Up to 3rd. Hard braking. This is a tricky one. Turn 6, off camber. Watch it roll off to the right. A lot of problems there. And it's followed up by turn 7, which is also off camber to the other degree, being a left-hander. Now a good run down into turn 8 and a good brake spot. Another good place to view right there on the left. 2nd gear through this corner. Real tentative on the throttle. 3rd gear. Off the throttle early there, Kerry was. You can carry a little more speed right through here. This is the carousel and one of the scariest corners you'll ever go through. Come off that corner, catch top gear, 4th gear. This is the kink. Every man's nightmare. A little lift there. You can actually do that flat in qualifying in top gear. There's his 5th right there. Headed down into Canada corner. Hard braking right here. He's going to go all the way down into probably 3rd gear. Some people use 2nd there across the rumple strips. Accelerate up the hill. Quick, very, very quick switch block, a blind left-hander up underneath this bridge. You can't, ooh, it looks like you're going to hit the bridge. He didn't. And finally, get onto this hard braking right here, turn onto the pit straightaway. Exit speed here is very, very important because this is a long front straight. That's the pit right off to your right there.
When he turned underneath the bridge, it had you moving in your chair here. This track does get your attention. There's no question of that. There's a look at Tommy Archer. Now, we're going to be keeping an eye on him. 2 developments here. One, Tommy's decided to start on slicks, and a lot of the other drivers have gone with reins. And secondly, a couple of cars have had problems or made some changes on the grid, and they are going to start behind him. So let's bring you the starting lineup. On pole, of course, Paul Gentilozzi, his 5th Motor City True Performance Pole Award of the year, joined by Mike Lewis. Next to him, row 2, Johnny Miller, 3rd Jag in the lineup, joined by Brian Simo. He's had a pole this year, but he's been struggling a bit in the Bangusta. Row 3, Boris Said in the highest qualified Panos Esperani, joined by Tommy Dreese in the TDM Jag. Row 4, Leighton Reese, the Banner Engineering Corvette, and Randy Ruhlman in the Corvette, both with the new body styles. Row 5, your Rookie of the Year point leader, Justin Bell, joined by Lou Gelati. Big development with Lou in terms of how he's feeling. We'll talk about that. Row number 6, Max Lagat, making one of his few race starts this year. He too on slick tires. And Mike Davis. Row 7, John Schaller, a club racer who's very good, decided to try a Trans Am event, and the rookie Paul Fix. Row number 8, you saw the great onboard lap he gave us, Kerry Alexander and Don Sack in the Valvoline Chevy Camaro. Row 9 is Simon Gregg and Rob Morgan, a name from IMSA Racing, coming back to Trans Am. Row 10 is Jim Trotnow, joined by Don Sonnen. Row number 11 will be Tom Miller and Steve Pelkey, who's 13th in the points, a little bit further back than he'd like. Row 12, Chris Pedersen and Jerry Simmons. Row number 13, Rich LaBarbera and Dan Miller, who's currently 2nd in Rookie of the Year points. Row 14 is Steve Beck and a legend around here, Cliff Eben, who struggled in qualifying but was very quick in the morning warm-up. Bob Ruman and Tommy Archer, there's your story, in 30th in the 15th row. And 16th, it's Brian Pelkey and Jim Matthews, who missed a driver's meeting, and Brian Pelkey swapped an engine out. And that is your starting lineup. Go on board with our Onboards we saw already. Kerry Alexander, he'll be starting in 15th. You can see the different looks, and you can see the skies. That's the big concern here. Also, Brian Simo starting 4th, and the rain picking up, and that's just a matter of a couple of sections of track, Dorsey, and you can see the rain on Simo's lens. He'll be starting in 4th in the Mangusta, and then Johnny Miller, the Automation Direct Eaton Cutler Hammerjag, will be starting in the 3rd spot, and the rain is definitely starting to pick up.
It's one of the things about a 4-mile track, Greg, is it can be completely downpouring on one end of it and dry as can be on the other. And that's why it'll be so hard for Paul Gentilozzi to hope to lead all of these laps today, because I can see pit stops in the future.
Very much so, particularly if this rain keeps up and you started on slicks like we documented some of the drivers have done. That's Canada Corner, one of the legendary corners here at this facility, up and under the bridge through 14 and onto the front straight. Field streaming through, and I use the term figuratively as well. And here you can see it's a little bit drier. It's going to be very interesting. And the field now starting to form up, heading into this final turn in the run up the hill. Now, you want the field to be grouped nicely, and the top 3, maybe 4 rows are, but a huge gap. You have to wonder if some of these guys are concerned about visibility going into the opening lap here with the rain on sections of the track. Front 4 rows look good, but we'll see if they get the green. Let's watch for it, Dorsey. The green is in the starter's hands, and we are green. Round 8 underway of the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup. Boris Said looks to the inside.
Well, the starter could only see the first 4 or 5 rows. That's why I gave that green, because there's going to be cars all over this racetrack right now.
Gentilozzi hangs on in the first turn. Lewis slots in behind him, then Miller. We'll watch turn 1 here. Anything developing. Looks like everybody's being pretty conservative, making sure they get through that first corner. Turn 5, though, is where we think you would see something here. On board here with Simo, the Tommy Bahama, Cavalli Mangusta, and look at Lewis taking a run at Gentilozzi out of 3.
Well, this is kind of a feeling out lap right now. You're trying to feel out what the racetrack will give you as far as grip for your tires to go. Side by side now under the bridge, headed down turn 5.
On board with Miller, that's Said to his left. Here's the wet. Boy, you can see it gets very wet in here very suddenly. Miller gives up a little bit to make sure he gets through the corner.
You can't win the race on this first lap.
And Gentilozzi has gone off. Gentilozzi just slid off, Doris. Went straight down into the runoff there in turn 5. Wow. And that gives Lewis the early lead. Gentilozzi's going to rejoin back in the top 10.
Man, he's slippery. Look at all these cars. Look at these guys. Turn 5, the exit. You see how slippery it is. All these guys are still on line. You would like to move off of that line onto a dry line or a racing line in the wet is outside of the dry line. See what it's doing here. Lewis goes down the inside. Simo to the outside, looking for grip. That's why you see all these different lines right now.
Big of a wiggle there by Lewis. Let's go back in a replay and take a look at what may happen to Gentilozzi. We're on board with Simo, and he just takes a hard right, Doris.
That was smart. Remember me saying turn 5 is the slowest corner? Had he gone in that gravel trap, he'd be stuck. He saw that he was going there, and he made a hard right, made a U-turn, and re-entered.
Boy, the rain heaviest in that area going into 5, and right here sweeping down through the kink into Canada Corner. These 2 sections are where the rain's coming down heaviest. Simo very careful.
That big old nasty cloud there in Canada and the kink, they don't go hand in hand at all in my book, I'll tell you.
Stay on board here for a minute with Simo. Boy, you can see the rain, and he has got Boris Said applying a lot of pressure. That is the battle for second right now. Lewis up front and easing away just a little bit.
Look at Simo. Look at Simo.
Running wide.
He's got no windshield wiper working either. That is stationary, so he's already lost a windshield wiper, which will be a problem for him pretty soon if it gets raining harder.
Both of those guys lighten up the rears, especially when you get on the paint on those curbs. Makes it even a little bit more slick.
Yeah, you don't want to be out there. I was talking about a rain line before. A rain line is away from the racing line normally because that's where all the grease and rubber is from the cars running around all during the dry session.
So there's Simo, the yellow Mangusta behind him, the Applied Computer Solutions Esperani of Said. Then it's Miller, the Jag. Looking back now from Simo, it's Said. This is through 1, heading down into Station 3. And boy, Said just rockets through.
Yeah, he drove it down the inside really hard, and he made it stick. Or it stuck a little bit anyway. Up. Brian coming back on the inside now, trying to.
Boy, this is where it gets so dicey because in just a few feet here, it's going to get very wet. Sorry, Doris.
Lewis's windshield wiper also not working right there. You see Brian's is stationary. Boris's is on. It's wet enough to run a windshield wiper right now, so I'm looking for trouble there. That's a common problem in Trans Am racing, losing your windshield wiper.
And Simo goes, and he loops it.
Oh, boy, Brian just, He got in the slippery stuff right there. Luckily, he's not in the gravel trap.
It looked like he was trying to counter move on set and went to the throttle a little bit too soon while he was still turned hard into the corner.
Well, remember, these guys got well in excess of 600 horsepower, and in the rain, it doesn't take too much throttle to get yourself looking where he just came from.
So he gathers it back up, but he too now has lost some valuable track position, trying to accelerate up that hill from a standing start, and it's damp with all that power. Not easy to do. Simo got away with it in terms of no damage to the car, gravel, or anything like that. Now here's Boris as we go to the replay. Watch Simo about mid-corner.
Think of what he wants to do is cut in behind Boris right here and try to run up the inside of the hill. He does that, but that's where the slipperiness is right there. And as soon as he got in there, boy, around it went.
Miller squeezes around the backside of him before he starts to back up. So now I believe that's Tommy Dreese over the back of Simo, but he has definitely dropped back in the order fairly significantly at this stage.
Believe it or not, the most grip on the racetrack here at Elkhart in the wet is around the outside of all these corners. I won a Trans Am race here in the rain one time by running all the way around the outside of that. Only guy that ever passed me there while I was doing that was Tommy Kendall. Actually passed me there in the grass. So he had real good traction.
He was grippy. We're going to go back now. This is the onboard from that spin here, Dorsey.
Watch now. When Brian turns in behind Paul, or behind Boris, right there is the racing line. That's where all the oil is, and you saw what happened. As soon as he got the tires on it, boom, off she went.
Dorsey talked about the rain line being around the outside. The outside of the carousel with very little run-up to start with has got to be awe-inspiring. We'll be right back.
I think my most important memory at Road America is probably the worst memory. In 1998, I had a 20-plus second lead. I had the white flag on the last lap, and I came out of turn 7, and I had 0 oil pressure. And I could have locked up the championship that race, and as I pulled to the side, I couldn't help. When I called my team and told them what happened, I knew they didn't believe me. And I pulled to the side and stopped the car, and they saw it on television, and that was the saddest moment I've ever had in racing.
Well, this track produces memories, good or bad. It produces lots of memories. He made up for it, though, as he won the next 2 on the trot here in 99 and 2000, so it came back around for him. Right now, he's in a battle for 5th. That's Mike Davis right behind him. And Mike Davis, what a run he is having. Started 12th, teammate and owner of the Applied Computer Solutions team. And Dorsey, this is arguably one of the best runs we've seen from him.
I was about to say that, too. I mean, Mike really applying the pressure and really doing a good job here. That opening wreck you saw with the car flying through the air, that's the man right there. Mike Davis had a huge wreck here a few years ago down in turn 5. Doesn't seem to have affected him. He's really putting the pressure on Paul now.
Well, and in these dicey conditions, he obviously is well-armed and having a great run here. Good look here. That's Archer, and Archer coming up on Max Lagat. Now, this is the battle for 16th. Now, remember, Archer started 30th, and Dorsey, he's doing it on slick tires. Lagat also on slick tires, and these two having a good run, but Archer absolutely flat. How's he doing that?
Well, what's amazing about these two guys right here, you've seen Archer to the inside right now.
Point by Max?
Yep, Max says, go ahead for it. Anyway, you can run in the rain on slicks if you can get them hot. That problem is they don't have any place on the racetrack that I see that's dry at all, so getting them hot is really hard to do.
You've got to be unbelievably smooth in your throttle application and your braking, too.
Well, we've said forever and ever that Archer grew up with a background in ice racing, so that's probably what it feels like to him right now.
Semi-familiar territory, and he's got a few laps on this track. There is Lewis. Now you can see the gap that he's starting to stretch out over Boris Said. Mike Lewis is absolutely hooked up today, Dorsey.
Look at Mike Lewis right here working the carousel on the outside. He is on the rain line right now, runs all the way around the outside, gets a good jump off that corner, going down toward the kink.
Now this corner, you said in the dry and qualifying, you could flat-foot it through there, but there's got to be some serious lifting going on. They call it a kink. That's a corner, but it's so fast.
Boy, it's just you can't take a breath before you get there because you can't breathe through it. You just hold on and you get through there. You see right now Mike running down the middle of the track. This is smart. It's wet on the outsides of both sides of the track. Right there, Boris is all the way to the outside. He's not going to get the grip there that Mike Lewis is getting in the center.
Up and out of Canada. There's the turn underneath what they call the Billy Mitchell Bridge here. Turn 13, station 13 perhaps, and into that final corner. And Boris is staying with him. He's not losing any more ground. And that's Simon Gregg, the Stonier Transportation vet. And Simon has gone around.
Get a 360 right there. No damage. Keeps going.
Yeah, fairly comprehensive spin. That was the exit of 8. So he's gathering it up and heading into the carousel. And here's a battle for 5th, and Gentilozzi has dropped back. There's Simo. There is Davis.
Davis got by Gentilozzi.
Yeah.
So Davis has gotten around Paul. Here comes Paul up the inside. Oh, deep in the brake zone right there.
Wedged his way in there into 14. Wow. Davis saw it. See what happened? There's what happened. That's the exit of Canada.
Yes, it is. And he was lucky not to have got stuck right there in that gravel trap. Exit of Canada. Paul got in too hot, obviously got into the gravel trap and kept on going.
And Boris said, Biz, we understand he just received a black flag. He's responding. Why?
Boris said is in the pit lane. He does not want to be in this pit lane. He got the black flag because he spun on the warm-up lap. If you spin on the warm-up lap, you have to go to the back of the field. He rejoined in his original place. That's a penalty. He's in the pits. Boris is somebody who likes the wet, actually, and he is one of the few people that may be able to make up all this time.
Thanks, Biz, but Dorsey, that pit lane's so long and the speed limit, this is killing him.
Well, and I don't understand if that's the case. Why are they giving him a penalty now when the race has been going on for so long? If he did something on the out lap of the pace lap, what did it take so long to give him a penalty for now with the race quarter of the way gone or whatever? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Maybe the observer report from the corners was just getting into race control and they tried to confirm it, but nonetheless painful. That's Randy Ruhlman ducking into the pits, and Archer now is up to 12th on those slick tires. This could already be the drive of the race.
Well, it is, because he's getting traction out of those slicks somehow, that's for sure.
So, as we are just now completing 3 of the 25 laps here at a wet and getting wetter, it appears, Road America, things are starting to literally heat up a bit. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Road America, and Michael Lewis now has the gift, an immense lead with Boris said stopping for that black flag. Lewis now some 17 seconds he has in hand over second place Johnny Miller.
And what Mike's doing right now, he's thinking to himself, keep it smooth, keep going just like you're going. You're looking in the rearview mirror, you can't see anybody coming. His pit crew guys are telling him on the radio, man, you're opening up a lead, just keep doing what you're doing.
There's Miller sitting in second. Now, Miller, of course, won at San Diego last year for his first Trans Am win. Lewis, Dorsey, has been in this championship for a long time. He's had poles. He's been quick. He has never been able to break through for that win.
Boy, you look right there. That car is not gripping nearly as well. Slipping and sliding all over the racetrack.
Well, that leads me to a question about that fuel injection. Fuel injection, they say something. Oh, Gentilozzi's off. This is
again
third time he has gone off.
He's not getting out of this one, I don't think. Oh, keep digging, baby. Keep digging. Yeah.
Oh, and he made it out of the gravel trap. Unbelievable.
I think that's Canada Corner again, where he had trouble before.
Look at the gravel he's dumping out, boy. Dorsey. This and it's getting on his rear tires.
Well, the gravel could give you some grip right now.
Oh, man, he is dumping out a ton of gravel, though.
Well, he was lucky to get out of there. He had to keep those rear wheels up.
Doris, look at this. This is Rich LaBarbera off in his Mustang. He's gone off. That's right on the outside of turn 8. Boy, he almost didn't even get into the gravel there, but just enough, and he's buried.
And he didn't keep his rear wheels digging, as you can see.
That's one of the things with this gravel on this track is when it rains, the gravel actually almost firms up a little bit. You're more likely to get out, but it will suck in. Here's a replay of what happened to Gentilozzi, bottom of the frame.
Boy, just got understeer right there, went straight in. You see, Paul knew what to do. He stays on the throttle quite hard, just digging like crazy. That was a good point you made also about this gravel, while it's wet, is a good chance of getting out of it. When it is dry, forget it.
Almost looked there like he had turned in way early, like he knew he had some sort of problem, was trying to straight line and get more braking done. Didn't work. Now he's out, but again, he's lost ground, and he's probably got an awful lot of gravel built up, although it looks like he's shaking quite a bit of that out on the track surface. But keep in mind, Gentilozzi, the one thing that may be a positive here with the problems he's having in this race is the fact that he's got such a big point lead right now.
Yeah, that is a good thing for him for sure. That braking zone down in the Canada Corner is not at all even. There's a lot of pavement changes, some more trouble.
That's Simo has gone off.
And there goes Boris.
Boris right behind him, and this is, he was running fourth, and Boris almost got by him. That's Simo's second off.
Boy, he pulled right in front of Boris. I don't think, though, he can see out the back. I can tell you, these Trans Am cars, after you run for a while. Now we're getting a full course yellow.
We have a full course yellow. And now here's Lewis. He's coming up. That's Jerry Simmons, but the course is yellow, so he's going to have to tuck in behind Simmons.
Oh, that's what he didn't want. Look at that huge lead he had. Is now gone.
Absolutely evaporated. Now Simmons in trouble. Simmons is in trouble, I think, and so Lewis, obviously, is not going to sit behind a car that's
well, he would have had
damaged.
to have waved him by. I mean, that's one of the things behind the caution like that you have to watch out for, is that even if you catch a car that's disabled without a point by and without people seeing that the guy pointed you by, you can be penalized for passing under the yellow.
But again, if he's wounded, you would think it would be okay. Now, here's Simo recovered from that spin. Well, he's hustling it. Obviously, they're instructed when you're not in an area on a full course caution where the problem is to pick the speed up and get up and catch that pace car, so that obviously the yellow comes out, they want to get the field under the control of the pace car and create the gaps to take care of whatever they need to do on course.
Yeah, and on a 4-mile track, that's easier said than done, because there's cars scattered everywhere and it takes a long time to clean up the mess.
So that's what Simo's doing right now, just trying to catch up to the back of the pack. Boris said behind him, obviously not racing him at this stage, but hustling it along pretty solidly as well. There is Simon Gregg down in the pits. Remember, he had an off earlier, and apparently they have elected to go. Looks like they're going to go with at least right side tires. They may have already done the other two. And this track right now is getting damper. You can see those clouds are closing in just a little bit. And although Lewis not running his windshield wiper right now, or it may have broken, as you said, that seems to happen quite a bit. We also see on occasion at the speeds that you generate at this track, the arrow on the windshield wiper not that great, and it'll actually lift right off the windshield on occasion.
Yeah, that happens a lot. You'll get so much pressure that it lifts the windshield wiper completely off the windshield, and sometimes then just throws it off to the corner somewhere. We see that a lot all the time.
Souvenir for the workers, obviously. Now let's go back and take a look at what happened with Simo's off.
Boy, that was slippery. You heard him just touch the throttle ever so lightly, and boom, off came the back end, and around he went. He stayed out of the wall, though.
Well, that's it. Just trying to get a little greedy, get a little launch out of a turn, and this track, it'll come around on you in these conditions. So Mike Lewis continues to lead. We'll be right back to Road America. Welcome back to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and a soggy Road America. We are under a full course caution. We alluded to earlier a problem that Lou Gelati is experiencing. It stems from Portland. He's racing in quite a bit of pain, and John Bizignano filled us in on that story a little earlier this weekend.
Lou, when we saw you after that big impact at the last event, everything looked okay, but you actually did sustain an injury.
Yeah, I broke my tailbone. Really hurt it pretty bad. It was painful all week. The boys were getting the car ready, and they broke their butt to get the car ready, but in order for me to race this weekend, we had to make a modification to my seat, where we actually have a little donut hole in the bottom of my seat so that I can actually race it here at Elkhart Lake.
A lot of work between here and there. Great crew, a lot of effort.
Great crew, a lot of effort. I broke my tailbone and my crew broke their butt. I mean, they really busted tail to get this car done. Wasn't as much damage as we thought. We just had to fix a couple small parts, but we made it, and we're here, and we're glad to be at Elkhart Lake.
These are indeed very sturdy cars, and it's great to see Lou here. He was very worried just in terms of cost, if nothing else, Dorsey, that he may not be able to make it here. Great to see him.
Well, one of the good things about Lou owning his own shop is he had all the equipment and all the people he needed to get that job done.
And Dorsey, we are back to green. Gelati, by the way, showing good perseverance in 13th. This yellow will help him. Lewis gets a great jump. He uses Randy Ruhlman, the Preform Line Products vet there, second in place, but down a lap for the jump. And Simo gets underneath Leighton Reese. Now, Reese qualified 7th. He'd been running in the top 5. He'd moved up to 3rd, but looked like Simo took a run at him. And the rest of the field coming through. And there is Mr. Archer once again. And this yellow, very helpful to him, but set is off, and that's in 3.
Better floor it, boys. Better get on it, buddy.
Look at that. Smart move, Dorsey, all the way to the wall.
Yeah, he'll keep digging right here, but see what he's digging? He's digging a bunch of gravel. It's all going into his radiator right now. That's going to be a mess, but he got through it.
Well, let's hope before he jumps on the track, he hits the brakes hard once to try and dump that junk off before he gets on course. Now, here is Miller, and there's Simo. Simo did get around Reese. That was 4th position. He now is up to 3rd. There's Lewis heading up the hill. Miller very crossed up. Simo going to get a run on Ruhlman, gets by him.
All those guys running on the dry line still. They haven't moved over.
Well, it looks like in spots here, the rain actually may not be coming down as hard as it was. And if it starts to dry a little bit, it can help. This is 32, Steve Beck, the Beck Engineering vet. And he is well entrenched in the gravel. Guess where? Canada Corner once again.
Yeah, it's nasty down there trying to get stopped. You see Leighton Reese right there getting around Ruhlman.
So he puts Ruhlman between himself and Paul Gentilozzi just there, coming into the frame. Dorsey, let's go back, take a look here. Heading down into turn 3, what may have happened to Boris?
Well, here comes Boris up the inside. Leighton doesn't see him and, just puts him off in the grass.
Meanwhile, Justin Bell is in the pits. Biz?
Justin Bell brings that bright orange Corvette into the stopping area. He has a hard time even stopping it in the pits. He was one of the ones that stayed out there on the slick tires. He got caught out by a heavy rain on the other side of the track. He came in under green. He did not come in under the full yellow. This is going to cost him a lot of time. Everyone out there is at full speed. He was just hoping that the track would dry, a line would become clear, and that the slicks would start to work. I don't think that's going to happen, guys. Justin Bell, a very long stop.
Now, Biz, maybe you wanted to make up a little of that valuable track position and move up. Oh, Jim Trott now, the Milwaukee Tool Train Company Camaro. Quick off and on. Looks like he may have gotten away with it. There is Lou Gelati, who's in a battle with Appleton, Wisconsin's Cliff Eben, who started 28th, and now he's caught Lou, and they're battling for 13th. Eben, a great drive.
Look at Cliff Eben on the outside. Get the grip. That is the rain line on the outside. Lou down low does not have the grip. Look at this.
Well, Eben has a ton of miles on this track, Dorsey. He's club raced here for years, incredibly knowledgeable. He also has Irv Hare helping him out with the Hare Racing products, and I'm sure some consultation. And one of the great joys I've ever seen was working the June Sprints once, and Cliff Eben in a flat-bottom old March Atlantic car going up against the more modern ground effects cars through the kink. It was glorious.
Yeah, I remember those days with Cliff because I had an old flat-bottom March, so he was my hero, man.
Here we go. Simo now taking a serious run at Miller. They came out of 14 onto the front straight, and it's just that close. Of course, now visibility becomes an issue, running that close up underneath the car. Look closer than that. Then you go to the onboard, and you realize that Miller has a couple of car lengths in hand as they go into turn 1. But you can see the spray coming up onto Simo's windshield. Not that bad at this stage.
It's getting wetter, though, I do believe, because I saw when they went through the kink last time that there was a lot more spray, so it must have been raining sporadically at a couple corners here.
Out of turn 3, and this is the run down that long. They call it the Moraine Sweep. And one thing, at the end of this section and also running at the exit of the kink down into Canada, the trees come in. It's like a tunnel, and if it gets much wetter, that mist that you see coming off Miller's car just hangs in the air in there. That's where the visibility just becomes diabolical.
And that part of the track stays wet all day, no matter what happens. It just doesn't have anywhere to go. That mist goes up, comes right back down.
Good look at Miller's Jag right there. This year running, of course, as a teammate to Paul Gentilozzi in the Rocket Sports program. And it's been a real godsend for Johnny. He doesn't have to worry about all the logistics, team ownership, and that sort of a thing. And plus, he's also got help from Gentilozzi and looking at Gentilozzi's traces and setup. This is now the battle for 14th. Eben has cleared this group, so it's Gelati up front. Then as we're on board with Alexander here in the middle is Max Lagat on the slick tires. Max doing an incredible job, and then Kerry Alexander right there in 16th.
I sure would have thought, look, there's that windshield wiper dancing around. It's not touching anything. See it, folks? Up in the air. It's got so much pressure from the windshield. It's not wiping anything but air.
And there's Beck. That's off again in Canada Corner. So just about 3 laps have been running. He's been off twice down there. And this looks a little bit more iffy. And there comes one of the Gale lifts that Road America's emergency rescue crews use here to try and haul that car off. Up into 6. Alexander looking to get underneath Lagarde.
Better have some grip to be in there.
Boy, it looks like he may have made it.
Yeah, but what happened to God? He should have been on the outside there. I think he's wiser than that.
Oh, what a pretty counter move if he makes it work. Nope.
Well, it's not over yet. I knew that was happening. He cut back behind him again. Now down into turn 8. Let's see what happens here. Max on slicks doing all that. Unbelievable.
And it was at 3 position changes in a corner and a half.
Now Max is on the dry line. Not a lot of grip there. Look at it. He does get off of there.
Boy, Max Lagat doing everything he can, and now he's taking a run at Gelati as they head in to the carousel. But look at the rain starting to pelt down here at Road America.
My most memorable moment probably came in a Trans Am race. It wasn't a win, but we came in second to Paul, and we were really putting the pressure on him. Had a great car that day, and unfortunately ran out of laps right at the end. But I think we might have been able to get Paul that day, and this time we're going to make up for some lost business, Paul.
Well, he certainly seems as good as his word. He has led every lap essentially thus far after that turn 5 on the opening lap. It's been all Lewis.
Well, it's obvious he's got this place figured out in the rain. You see him out there just opening the gap like crazy.
Here's the battle for 14th, and it continues. There's Gelati. There's Alexander. Now Lagat back behind those two. And you'd have to believe with those dry tires that in spots on this track when it gets really wet, Max is just not there.
I'm really surprised that they didn't come in and change during that yellow. I would have surely thought they would have. You look back there, and these cars are twitching all over the place.
Now there's a look at Archer, and guess what, folks? He has cracked the top 10 and has done it on dry tires. He is having just an exceptional run here. Now, of course, he's a number of seconds back of the leaders, certainly, but nonetheless, he's auguring his way to the front right now. But the leaders up front are working on some great rain tires from the folks at BF Goodrich Biz.
Well, BFG is using this wet opportunity to forward their technical side of the sport. Of course, now you've always seen a wet tire, the deep grooves that stop the aquaplaning, that actually throw the water out from underneath the tire at very high speed. But this is a brand new compound, and it's extremely soft. It can actually create grip in these very wet, even cold conditions. It's twice as soft as the compound that they've been using the last several years. The only time it's been tested was at Cleveland this year. Right now, I'm sure every driver out there is very happy that the BFG boys have come up with a softer, grippier compound for these wet conditions.
Grateful indeed. There's Boris, by the way, who's working his way back up through some lap traffic. He's currently back to 7. And that's the thing that maybe sometimes people don't always understand about rain tires. Yeah, you got to channel the water out from underneath so you don't aquaplane to get up on top of it. But you still have to generate heat in the rubber to generate the grip once you get the water out of the way.
Right, and the softer you can make that compound, the easier it is for it to build heat. And in a condition like we've seen most of today, you would want a softer compound.
There was Boris, by the way, down the inside into turn 8, getting around Paul Fix, the young rookie. Great story for Paul. But talk about a motorsports family. His wife actually got him into racing. She was racing vintage cars. Paul tried it once, fell in love with it, and pretty soon he's running in Trans Am. She still does vintage racing. Both of the kids, as he gets squeezed there a little bit, both of their kids run go-karts. So they are totally motorsports here. Here's Gentilozzi, another Paul. This one, no, up into the top 5 right now. Problem for him, though, 22 seconds behind the leader, Mike Lewis, who, what a day Mike is having. And I'm sure Paul would appreciate it. We mentioned, of course, that Mike Lewis is driving one of Paul Gentilozzi's Rocket Sports chassis Jaguars. And, boy, is he making it run.
Talk about a guy overdue as well. You know, the talent's been there for so many years now, and he's been in a position many times and never has been able to capitalize on. So hopefully.
Well, he has certainly shown the speed in the past, as that 99 run here showed. Here's the battle for second. Miller and Simmel, that's the gap between the two of them. They're quite a bit adrift of Lewis, but they are battling very hard. And it looks like the old classic story here, Dorsey. In certain sections of the track, Miller's a little quicker. In certain sections of the track, Simmel seems to have the answer.
Yeah, that's true. And I see now Simmel's wiper blade not only is not turned on, but it's not even on the windshield. It's sticking off the A-pillar somehow. So if it gets nasty, look at the clouds up ahead.
Boy, that is just black that they are heading into. This is not looking too good here. One thing I'm noticing with Simmel, in the areas of the track where it's much wetter than others, he is very, very, right here, he is really working the rain line on all of these corners where it's real damp.
Yeah, he would have to do so, too. I think he's going to be in trouble. You saw how dark it was back there. It's going to really get the rain coming down here shortly.
Well, a lot has unfolded here, but we are 9 laps into the 25 here that make up the 100 miles at a 4-mile Road America. As they continue to work traffic, the sky is looking darker and more ominous. We'll be right back.
The Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup is brought to you by Automation Direct. Low-cost quality automation products shipped the same day. And by Wicks Lumber in association with Capital Windows, Anderson Windows, Quillogy, and Trilithic.
Welcome back once again to Road America, and this is a great story building. The two teammates in the Applied Computer Solutions Panos Esperanis have found each other on the track. That's Boris Said working around team owner and teammate Mike Davis. But Dorsey, I think this is the breakthrough Trans Am race for Davis. He is running incredibly well, and in these conditions, in that car, it's a brand new car essentially, really just debuted a couple races ago. He's doing a phenomenal job.
It's the best we've seen Mike Davis look, but I just saw him let Boris Said by right there. He didn't even contest him at all. So I guess he's letting his teammate, go out there and get to the front.
Well, I think everybody's aware that Boris is certainly one of the fastest guys, certainly in the series. And Mike would just do well to let Boris go and let Boris get to the front and race. But Mike hanging in there doing just an incredible job. Very impressive indeed. Now let's move up to that battle for second. And there's Miller and there is Simmel. And once again, Miller has eased away just a little bit, but in other sections of the track, Simmel closes right up.
But both of those guys finally found the wet line down there in Canada. I saw neither of them turned into that slippery spot that time.
Now, when you come up underneath the bridge there in these conditions, do you tend to need to square that a little bit more to make sure you're a little straighter underneath the bridge?
You have to square the approach. I'll tell you why, Greg. There's a big puddle, a big lake or river that runs across, and if you're turning when you hit it, the car wants to swap ends on you real quickly.
Of course, that's happened a couple of times already to Brian Simmel, so I'm sure he's very aware of any kind of movement like that. Down that long straight, there the brake lights come on for Miller.
Even in the rain, that's 170 mile per hour. That's what it looks like right there.
Everybody just braking and coming in there with a lot more conservation, if you will, not going in anywhere near as deep. Down underneath the bridge, the little bridge there in turn 2, and now down into 3. And Simmel right in here, it looks very strong.
Yeah, he's looking really good through there, but I am real concerned about that. You're looking at that windshield wiper that's stuck over there right in his field of view. It's stuck on the A-pillar, it looks like.
Well, you watch him right there. He's moving offline just a little bit. Obviously, if he gets a run, he'd like to get by, but is he trying to improve his visibility?
Well, he could be doing that. You're right. He could be trying to get more water on the windshield, particularly if he's got some dirt on there that he can't get off right now. These racetracks are not clean. We've seen all these cars get off and get in the debris, so there's a lot of mud out there.
There's the run out of 5 up into 6, and is that Miller protecting, or is he looking for some water? Are those tires starting to maybe feel it?
I think he might be looking for the water. You're right. He definitely moved way offline, went over there, ran through the puddle, and came back on. It's plenty wet right here, though.
And right to the outside they go. That's the turn 7. As you said, that's off camber, and it's almost a sweeper. It's very high speed. And off camber, that when it's wet like this, has to feel just unbelievably treacherous.
It's a really tricky corner. Look at there, Brian running the outside of the patch there, squaring off the corner. So he's definitely running a wet setup right now.
Through the carousel, and Miller floats out a little bit, find a little bit extra grip, but watch for Simmel here, and Simmel much further to the outside as he's trying to work that rain line and get the launch. We have 10 laps of 25 done here at Road America. We're back at Road America. Mike Lewis, since that yellow, has opened up about a 10-second lead. And Biz, we've talked about him running fuel injection. Is that making a significant difference to him this weekend?
Michael Lewis is doing exactly what he wants to here at Elkhart Lake. He's leading the event comfortably. Now, he has that fuel-injected motor, and he was telling me that that does not apply the power as smoothly as the carbureted engines do. So right now, it seems to be working wonderfully for him. He is very quiet on the radio, and the crew says that's the way we want it. There's no problems as long as he's being quiet.
Oh, and Dorsey, look at the move here. Simmel got a run at Miller coming out of 14 down the front straight. And he gets his nose up alongside, but then Miller looks to be able to ease away just a little bit.
Well, you just saw something right there. That's Johnny Miller's got some torque and horsepower. He pulled that hill a lot better, and Brian definitely had the speed coming out of that corner.
So Brian, nothing he can do except tuck back in behind, jump on the rain line, and try and get a run out of another turn. Out of 1 under the Briggs and Stratton Bridge, down to 3. Looks to the inside. There's traffic up front.
At a place like Elkhart, that's what you hate to see, that you do a real good job getting off the corner like right here, and then you get smoked down the straightaway by the competition. Let's see if it happens again.
Miller using that lap car as a little bit of a pick, so Simmel had to tuck in behind him.
Look at the dirt coming onto the windscreen now. Look at all that coming off the car. That can't be good for Brian.
And look at the clouds once again.
Oh, look how dark it is. You see the sign down there in turn 5. That's the leaderboard sign.
Meanwhile, here they come around the lap car. That's Tom Miller, the Moose Drool Mustang. And they both get by clean at this point. And Simmel, once again, decent drive out of 5. Miller makes that little look to the left and gets back on line. Up and underneath the bridge in turn 6. A little squirrely there, getting the power down. Oh, did he get a run, though?
Oh, Kerry Alexander's in the gravel trap.
Kerry is off. That's turn 8.
That's right in front of where the leaders are just got to get to. That was the lead. Mike Lewis just went by, and here is the race we were following.
Boy, I tell you, Simo got a great launch out of 6, but he couldn't do anything with it into 7. Then Alexander's off. And Dorsey, that sure looks to me like that's impact territory. If another car goes off, we keep an eye out for another full course yellow.
I saw a wrecker right there, Greg, right behind the wall, though, that it looked like he might want to go over there and snatch him out of there.
Let's go back, take a look at what happened, and boy, it got away from him early.
He lost that under braking, Greg. And one thing you do in the rain is you crank in a lot of rear brake bias because you can't transfer as much weight to the front. Now that was a rear brake lock-up spin right there. Brian.
And of course, if you do mess up a down change a little bit and don't get the revs matched in the wet, that's going to snap out on you a lot more readily as well, I would think.
Well, now if they have only gone with a local yellow there, they'll snatch him out. Oh, that's Dreesy.
Tommy Dreesy. Now that, he got further off than anybody else. He wins that award down here in Canada. It's a somewhat auspicious award, but he got in pretty good.
Any further than that, you have to buy a ticket to get back in. That fence stopped him from having to buy a general admission is what happened there.
Now the question is, are they going to be able to get him extracted again using those gale force, the gale forces they call it here at Road America, all that gale wrecker and
here comes Brian.
Boy.
We worked the outside. Brian working the outside looking for grip. Miller the inside. Miller shows the torque right here. Look at that thing pull up that straightaway.
And Simo wasn't exactly slipping and sliding coming out of 14. He had it reeled in pretty well. Let's take a look at the tail end of this.
Boy, a lot of speed on when he got into that gravel trap. He's lucky that gravel trap was there, I'll tell you that much.
Meanwhile, back up to the battle for second that we've been following, and this is where, a little bit of a squirrely slide on that painted curbing, the exit curbing. Here comes Simo. That's all he needed.
That's all it takes, one little slip up like that. Now let's see, look how dark it's getting though.
Now the question here is we've been watching Miller in that torque, and actually Simo gets a little jump right there. We'll see if Miller's able to reel him in just a little bit. What bothers me about those clouds is the tail end of them, where that line is. That looks like a heavy thunderstorm area here. So let's hope it holds off for a few more laps. Down into 5, and Simo got out of 3 well enough that Miller could not take a run at him.
Does the rain line around the outside, like I was telling about, there's more grip up there. Miller looking for water for his tires, so he must be feeling that the tires are starting to go off, particularly the rears. He drove offline again to get some water. Easy, boys.
Well, and that gets back to what we were talking about the soft compound to generate heat when it's really wet, but when it starts to get dry, and that's Reese. Oh, Reese is running in 4th spot, and he looped it, and there's Gentilozzi. Gentilozzi sneaks by before Reese can recover. Look at Leighton thinking about trying to get back at him, but now Gentilozzi back up to 4th. Reese now back to 5th.
That was down the bottom of the hill, turn 5 again, that Leighton got around and turned in the escape road down there. Now watch as they do battle with Gentilozzi.
They're definitely tiptoeing through sections of the track. See if we can catch it. And he got his tires on that curbing.
Yeah, he did indeed. He dropped his right side tires up on top of the curb. There's no stopping when that happens.
As we saw, it just snapped around on him. Back on board with Simo here. This is a replay of that pass from the onboard camera, and it was all exit out of 1.
Sure, that one little wiggle you saw right there. Miller had that little bit of wiggle. Had to check up for a minute to get out of the throttle, and Brian said, I got you. Finally, I got you.
Back to live coverage of them as they head into turn 12. That's Canada corner. Clear track in front. Let's get back to what I was saying about the tires. Those rain tires, to build that heat, you get that soft compound in the tread blocks to really generate heat, but when it dries up, it overheats, doesn't it? And those tread blocks, when they start to flex, can actually chunk out.
They chunk and they blister as well. When you blister a rain tire, and they always happen, it seems, on the rear first, man, you got trouble. I see yellows all over the place.
Now let's keep an eye on that situation here. Meanwhile, up the front straight one more time. We're now approaching halfway.
Experiences, going into turn 5 with Paul Gentilozzi, it was more than once, but it was one of those deals where we pulled up, we both ran there hard, and we both locked them up, and we both made it through. So it's my favorite turn on the track, turn 5.
Dorsch, you've had some memorable moments with Paul in turn 5.
And with Jamie Gallus and a bunch of other people in turn 5. Yep, you're right. Hood up on Dreesy there from that
and look at that. He's doing the same thing that Gentilozzi did earlier, dumping gravel everywhere as it comes out. Here comes Gentilozzi, and he's got Reese right behind him, but he can't go by him. We're full course caution, and it's probably because, one, of Dreesy being off, and also some of the gravel that is being dumped on the track. It's getting slippery, so we're full course caution at this point. We took a look at those memorable moments of Simo's, and of course he's been battling it out with Miller all race. This will add to that book.
Looked like Greasy wanted to go in the pits area. He had the car set up to go in the pits.
Must have been closed.
They must have either been closed or he got a call from his crew people saying, no, not yet. Remember, it's a 4-mile track. You don't want to use up too much track position. You know, you want to wait this thing out to the very last lap and then go in so you do the least amount of damage to yourself.
Well, normally in that scenario, when the pace car first comes out, they will go full course caution, obviously, and they close the pits to gather up the teams. Now, here's our high-tech Performance Trailers Owners Championship. It's an interesting deal. Each individual car is listed as an owner, and you get points not just for your results, but also for your presentation and promotion of both the series and your team. And you can see it's Rocket Sports, but it's Miller who currently is out there. Now, this is the Johnson Controls 100, and Biz, I understand you're standing by with a very interested observer.
Brian Stark is the president for the controls group for Johnson Controls. And Brian, I've got to ask you, you've got to be happy with Paul Gentilosi's performance so far this year.
Yeah, Paul's had a great year. He's doing a great job, and hopefully it'll finish that way.
And you're sponsoring the race here. This is your Johnson Controls 100. Why sponsor the event?
Well, this is a great event. It's in our backyard, and it seemed like the right thing to do, and we're happy to be the primary sponsor for this race.
A lot of usage of Johnson Controls products in cars.
Certainly a lot of Johnson product in cars, probably in 20-some million cars around the world.
Are you going to keep this sponsorship going? Are you happy with it? Are you making it work?
Well, we're very happy with the sponsorship, and as long as Paul keeps doing well, we're going to keep going.
Nothing like a happy sponsor, guys, even in the rain.
Thanks very much, Biz. As we're under caution, we are now 13 of 25 laps complete. We're past halfway. Lots of racing to go. We are still under caution here at Road America, but Tommy Archer has taken advantage, Biz. He's in.
Tommy Archer has arrived in the pits, and they're having one heck of a problem with the right front. That one big nut just does not want to come off there. I cannot believe that he stayed out this long on the dry weather tires. He was really hoping that the weather conditions would change. They haven't. It's cost him, for sure, a great run here at Elkhart Lake.
Well, and you can see on the crew shirts, the rain's starting to pick up. I don't think he had much of a choice. Oh, and he stalled it. All right, there he goes again. But nonetheless, Dorsey, an unbelievable drive by Tommy Archer in these conditions on those tires. Just phenomenal.
You didn't see him in the gravel traps, and he's on slick, so he did do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, it's just amazing what he was able to put up here in terms of those numbers. You know, a lot of the lead cars have had their moments. He hasn't. Johnny Miller hasn't. Johnny has not put a wheel wrong, while others around him have had some problems. Watch for Archer, of course, he have that speed limit that they have to be very careful of. Probably grateful for in these conditions here. Boy, the rain definitely starting to pick up. Let's take a look at our AmeriSuites field summary. 14 of 25 laps in the books, and it is Lewis, Simo, Miller, Gentilosi, and Leighton Reese still sitting right up in that top 5. Then it's Boris Said, Mike Davis. I think just an incredible job by Mike here. Don Sack has worked his way into the top 10. He's got that new Valvoline sponsorship he debuted a couple races ago. And up to 9th is Rob Morgan, coming back to road racing after years in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's qualified 18th and 9th, and up to 10th is Cliff Eben from 28th on the grid. Eben problems in qualifying, but boy, does he have experience here. We've talked a lot about safety in cars over the years, safety in tracks with the runoff and the like, but Road America has taken their safety to a new level, and that's the topic of our tech tip.
In the early days at Elkhart Lake, a hay bale up against a tree was considered maximum safety. Well, things have changed. Right behind me are 16 monitors. Now, these monitors come from cameras that are owned by the track, not the network bringing you the Trans Am race, but by the track. They all go into one computer right here, and the race control officials look at this computer. They can see any incident out on the track immediately, and therefore know the best response immediately. Here at Elkhart Lake, they've gone from hay bales to guardrails to many different efforts to making things more safe for everyone involved. Now it's the computer and 16 of their own cameras.
And you may wonder, do they really need that when they have television coverage? Well, remember that this track has testing almost every day of the year and lots of club races, and that's where those cameras come in handy. It gives race control even more visual acuity as to what's going on around this track. A great step by Road America. We'll be right back. Gary Simmons, under caution, has had a problem in his Westward Tools Mustang, and he's off in the gravel, and we're anticipating a restart at the same time. We'll see. Nope, they decide to go ahead and go green. They'll let the corner crews and their Gale equipment get that car off the track. So the Amerisuites Jag, of your leader, as he has been throughout the entire race, leads at Simo second, Miller third. There's Gentilozzi. There is Reese in fifth. And Lewis must be getting frustrated because he keeps building up these big leads, Dorsey, and then they're taken away.
Yeah, that wears on your nerves for sure. But I'll tell you what, he's got this place figured out in the rain. There's no question about it. You watch the line he takes around all these corners. He's getting the maximum grip, and you don't see his car sliding around at all.
Well, and also the fuel injection, we were talking to him, and he said the way that it works throttle-wise here, they've solved their top-end problem, so that's not an issue, and they're sorting the throttle application problem, so it seems to be a pretty effective package as he leads down in. Now, Simo, smelling opportunity here, is going to take every chance he can, and he closes up a bit.
Ooh, locks it up.
Boy, it's getting very wet down there,
You hear the engine back there. You hear it's actually the rear axle you're hearing going clunk, 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 clunk. He almost spun the car out right there. Guess what? His windshield wiper's working again. At least it was.
Yeah, and it's getting definitely damper out there. We saw that evidence in Archer's pit stop with the rain hitting the backs of the crew, but it's becoming very evident on the track as well. Now Lewis eases away just a little bit, and Miller takes up the chase of Simo for second. Out of 7, down into turn 8. Well, the cloud's very dark here now as well.
These guys will have been playing with their sway bars. They'll be playing with brake bias control knobs. As the grip level changes, they've got to change all that as they go along.
There's a good look at Tommy Archer, sits in 11th right now and closing on that group of 10 up front. Now remember, he had that pit stop and changed now to the wet tires, and boy, you can see it's working much better for him. Here he comes. That's by Eben. That puts him up into 10th. So with the way the Archer was able to drive on those dry tires, I can only imagine what we're going to see out of him in the wet with the wet tires now.
Well, now he's got to learn the car all over again because now he's on those reins for the very first time on this tire to see what kind of grip he can get with these.
Well, look at him just out and around the outside of the carousel, drops the hammer. Here's the battle for the lead, though, down into Canada. That's up front is Lewis, then the yellow Mangusta of Simo, then the multicolored green and black entry of Miller, and they've got traffic. That's Simmons, who's out of the gravel. Let's see if he sees him and lets him through.
It's rained really hard down there, and it is raining hard. Yeah, definitely it is. I saw it as they entered into Canada corner. It's going to get
here comes Miller. Nope, not enough. Simo stays outside, but that should really be the best line now.
I'll tell you what, it's raining really hard now, and all of the traction that had there before is gone.
Now, if indeed Miller and a couple other drivers were worried about the condition of those rain tires, they don't have to anymore. It is absolutely a wash out there. Look at the visibility now down the front straight. It's coming down very hard, Dorsey.
Yeah, look at Lewis. He's up front. He doesn't need a windshield wiper on his car because he doesn't have that spray. All the guys behind him, though, eating all that spray.
And Gentilozzi not far back of Miller right now. He's joining the fray. Out of 1. Here it's not as bad. This is the one area of the track. Seems like those clouds are sort of angling through the area, but watch them into 5.
What makes it tough around this racetrack for sure is you got a lot of traction, a lot of dry pavement right here. We just came out of Canada corner. We saw it is soaking wet there. I would assume at the bottom of the straightaway in 5 it'll be wet there too.
And of course that's at the bottom of a hill, so that tends to gather water as well. Look at it right there offline. Right here is where they hit it, just past that bridge. It is a downpour, a deluge as they head down into 5. Here comes Lewis. Look at Miller pressuring Simo, and Gentilozzi closing up.
Miller feeling quite racy right here. He's really feeling racy. Look at
Lewis,
guys.
look at the slide. Miller, big lurid slide. Gentilozzi very tentative.
He's in the track, so look at Gentilozzi follow the tracks with his car. It's how deep the water is already. These guys are leaving an open channel. Gentilozzi's got his tires right in it. That's why he's able to gain ground right here.
Unbelievable here. Down into... Oh, look at that. Very ominous indeed.
This is where I'd rather be fishing. When I'm driving in this condition.
And it's caught out Archer. Just what you were talking about, having to relearn the car. He maybe thought he was going to get more grip than he really should have had heading down into turn 5.
Well, he hasn't hurt the car that badly, but it surely isn't what he wanted. He's going to get it turned around, get back into the race again.
See if we can catch what happened here. And he rode the wall almost all the way down. Bumps it there.
Yeah, he Oh, he banged into the wall good. Of course, he was on grass. That's why he couldn't stop. But the problem he had started up the hill further, probably in the brake zone. Probably got on the curb and sucked over into the grass. Look at the front. Pretty strong.
Not a lot of damage there.
No, pretty strong.
Oh, look how dark this is here. You can just barely make out the image of Miller. Thanks for the lime green, Johnny. We can see you as he's coming up behind. There's Lewis. Oh, Lewis, a little bit of a wiggle into Canada corner. Look, it is just pouring out there. And Simmel's off.
Big understeer right off the track. Oh, and he's going to be stuck there.
Yep, you see the rear tires. He is parked.
Boy, oh boy, I was going to say, this is when the drivers, you get on the radio to your crew chief and you start hollering, hey man, get these SCCA officials, stop this thing, this is crazy, I can't see, I can't stop, I can't turn, and they're not. Look at them all skating around.
Here's a replay of what happened to Simo, and it just never turned, and he just drove straight off, but not with enough speed that he could drop the hammer and try and get through it. Simo was parked. We'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, one of my fondest memories at any racetrack is when you win, and I won here in '94. It was my first Trans Am win for Ford, and first win for me in a big car series, and we had a great battle, and I mean, those are the things you remember about a track, and it was always one of my favorite tracks before I won, but winning just makes it special.
Must have really got to Boris because he actually won in '95, as he was talking about. Racer's memory. You were in that race, too.
Well, that's because everybody in the top 5 of that race got black flagged for doing something to somebody else, and we all got in trouble. So Boris did get the win, though. Oh,
he got the win. He was
Lewis
there. Oh, look at that. Very squirrely Lewis reins it in, though. Very good on the braking. Gentilozzi is off. The runoff in 5 once again.
Good save right there. It shows you how slippery it is.
Does he give up a spot, though? That's the question.
Oh, man, it's pouring. These guys should be screaming right now.
Well, we're getting a report that Lewis has radioed his crew to talk to the officials and say that he thinks it should be stopped. And, of course, you'd expect that. He's leading. John Schaller, the driver who's won Formula Atlantic Championships and the June Sprints here, a top-flight club driver, moving to the GT1 race problems. And there's contact. Davis and Reese have gone off in 5 as well.
Well, it's all at the bottom of that straightaway.
And there's some debris.
They
hit.
definitely hit each other on the way down in there. That's exactly where we saw Archer a little bit ago. This turn 5 area now. Look at the puddle. Did you see all the water channeling those things are doing?
Unbelievable. And by the way, we understand now that Gentilozzi has also radioed in, saying there's more cars off. That's Dan Miller struggling. Here comes.
This could be trouble. Oh man, there's already a car down there. So you got 5 cars in turn 5 right now. When do you want to stop?
Yeah, that was Simon Gregg.
Oh no.
And that's Miller again. That's Pelkey. That's
Pelkey.
The Mustang of Pelkey has gone off. Now that's car 45, the K manufacturing machine in Canada.
Yeah.
Schaller is. Of course, Simo's still sitting there.
Simo's there still. And so there's a car. They've got yellow there.
As I said, Gentilozzi's radioed saying he doesn't care where he's running. It needs to be stopped. So they are certainly concerned about it. And they're coming out of Canada there. There's Lewis. Here's Miller.
Well, we know we've got 8 or 9 cars. There's 4 right there. All of them off the racetrack. So obviously that's
Lewis. That's Lewis. That's out of Canada before the bridge.
Oh my.
Now we're waiting to see because there are conflicting reports of a full course caution or a red flag at this stage of the race. So I haven't seen anything displayed on the corner, but you have to look at the start bridge to really tell.
Oh, look at these guys. Can't hardly even idle at speed. It's so
There's Gentilozzi. There's Lewis recovering now. But it's all a matter of timing at this stage.
Well, I don't see any flags yet. But you certainly would think you would. There's a
caution up at the start-finish bridge, so we are under full course caution.
Look at that. No visibility whatsoever. Sonnen. That's turn 5 again. He's getting back on.
Yep. So it is just a mess. Let's go back and take a look at the replays of all these incidents. There's Reese, first of all. Now watch what happens with Davis.
He's going to come down and get hit by Davis for sure. I can see it coming. I sense it. Yep. Oh, it's a bigger hit than I thought.
Yeah,
Backs
Davis
right into him.
It was away from Davis way early.
And there's Brian sitting there.
There's Schaller.
Schaller comes in, and of course that's got a caution flag. Everybody knows that there's a car right head on there. So you wouldn't think guys would be spinning, but and there's our leader.
Boy, look at that.
Look at the spray
water. Boy, that's a BF Goodrich rain tire that's overachieving. Wow, was that?
He needs a rudder. He doesn't need a tire. Look at this.
And here's Pelkey coming off. Boy, he got off with some pace as well. That gravel trap doing its job. Well, you talk about a tire channeling water. Well, you saw evidence of how it can work. And here's Sonnen.
Get on it. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But that shows you how little grip there is when that water down there is probably 6 inches deep.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what's going on here. Biz, talking to Kevin Bayless, who, of course, is the technical director as we're on board now and it's under caution. He's been talking to race control. What's going to happen here? What's going on with the weather, Biz?
Kevin, what are your options now?
Well, right now we've got a couple of options at least. We can sit the thing out. Obviously, it's pouring down rain. We don't want to turn the cars loose like this. CART's given us an extension on the time. We have to end the race to stay to their schedule, so we've got a little bit bigger window than we thought we did. So we're going to wait and see what happens with the weather, but we're going to have some pretty miraculous change in the weather at this point in order for the track to dry out sufficiently. The other thing would be if it does not change, then we'll checker the race as it stands right now.
So who would be the winner? A lot of people are saying it should be checkered on this lap, that lap. What are you going to decide to do?
That's the question right now, and it's being discussed, and it's the chief steward's call, and they're calling for me right now on that very subject.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Biz. So, boy, it's getting interesting here, and obviously a few things that they're going to need to sort out. The field now under control of the pace car, but I guess there it is right there. But it's Miller out front right now at this stage. But there's the red. There is the red flag. And so obviously at least Dorsey at this stage, they're going to stop the race right now. And we'll see what unfolds, but there is no letting up in this rain right now. Well, we'll sort it through when we come back.
The Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup has been presented by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control.
Welcome back to Road America. We're going to show you the full field unofficial results, but you see Mike Lewis is the winner, and Dorsey, we have to explain why. That red flag came out before all the cars had cycled through on that lap. Yeah, some of the leaders had gone through, and Miller at that point was out front. But when it came out, there were other cars not on the lap. The rule book then says, you have to go back to the last completely scored lap, and at that point, Lewis was leading.
That's true, and for Mike Lewis, he likes that rule a lot. And Johnny Miller, he doesn't understand that rule a bit.
For Johnny, not so much.
No, not so much in his case, but it's mass chaos. You had 9 cars off the racetrack. They're trying to get control of the situation. Like I say, some of those cars haven't yet gone through.
So at this point, it shows as Mike Lewis gets his first win, and he's got to be ecstatic, and we're going to send it down to Victory Circle, John Bizignano with Mike Lewis. Biz?
Right now, the unofficial winner of this event is Michael Lewis. Last time I saw you in the car, you weren't so happy. What did the stewards say to you?
Well, apparently they called it and reversed back to the last lap, which, I think is the right thing to do, and I know I benefited from it, but anybody says we didn't earn this one, flat and simple, and we weren't the best car out there today, just wasn't watching a different race. So, I'm so happy for the guys. They worked so hard for so long. We didn't back into this. Everyone was there. All the major players were in the race, and we just went out and did it. So,
tell us about that drive. That must have been you couldn't see, you couldn't steer. The car was off the ground more than it was on the track.
I'm telling you, at first it wasn't too bad, but those last few laps were just incredible. And I radioed in, as I said, a couple laps before that. But up to that time, the car really handled pretty well, and you could see it. I could stretch really when I wanted to. But when it got real wet, I think everybody was in trouble, and that includes me for sure.
How far did your heart sink when that thing started coming around backwards on you?
Well, I'm glad that they didn't have any uplink on my radio, because it was more a blue line of cursing. Because I was literally driving in a straight line, just trying to get some power down, and it just went around on me. So I was really unhappy with myself. I was apologizing to these guys like there was no tomorrow. But like I said, the yellow flag was out. They'd already made the decision to go full course yellow. So I think in the end it's the right thing to do, and I think the other guys will feel that way. So.
Congratulations on what we hope is a great victory.
Yeah, great. It just feels so good, especially here at Road America. Like I said, the spa of the U.S. Great track to have a maiden victory.
Spa in many ways, guys.
They go with the guys.
Yeah, including the rain sometimes. Here, Paul Gentilozzi, the guy is just amazing. He has, 4 or 5 offs, and yet he comes back for third and ends up only losing a couple of points to Johnny Miller. Just unbelievable in what he's able to do. Speaking of Miller, he's with Biz. John?
Johnny Miller, it seems like it's been decided. Congratulations on his second place. How do you feel that you were up front when the red flag dropped?
Yeah, I guess there's a rule difficulty in scoring, whatever it may be, they go back to the previous lap. And even though we were in the lead there at the end, they're going to score the previous lap and give Mike the win. And I understand. He drove a great race, and we'll take second. The conditions were so bad. I'm just glad we weren't going to go out there and wreck all the cars. We got to go to Mid-Ohio, and so we're happy with it. We'll take it and go home.
Well, Michael Lewis certainly earned it, but I think Johnny Miller, out of all the leaders, was the only guy who never put a wheel wrong, and that says an awful lot. Thanks for joining us here.